these other interesting services that emerged from one of the conversations is our service around compensation and benchmarking. And I still remember that we were working with this UK-based management consulting firm, and I was doing some searches with them for India and UK. And I met with the managing director, and in due course of time, we were just discussing about the other challenges that he's facing, and he was talking about how he's been able to attract talent, but he's not been able to retain them. And he kept talking about the fact that he's been doing his compensation benchmarking exercises through the few of the known names in the market, but that has not helped him because he keeps getting the result that they are amongst the 97th percentile, yet he's losing the talent, and he felt that there's something off about the kind of benchmarks that they were getting. And he just proposed this idea to me that Bhavishya, you are in the market, why don't you think of doing something which helps the organization take some tactical decision rather than just doing an exercise which is meant for audit purpose predominantly. So that triggered a thought, and honestly, I had no idea about compensation benchmarking. I don't have an HR background, just for reference. So I kind of looked at it in a very problem-solving kind of a way, and approached this compensation benchmarking exercise, and looked at doing something very logical, which could have some bit of a business interpretation, and organization can actually act on that sort of a recommendation. And our way of doing benchmarks are very, very different than what traditional practice is. We don't look at historical data, we look at real-time data, and we do sort of analyze that data in far more details so that the organization actually has some actionable points to sort of take out of that exercise. I still remember I got a call that I had to be in Mumbai the next day when this managing director was traveling to India. And I wasn't sure the context of the meeting, and I was a little scared because I just felt that perhaps what I have done as an exercise hasn't traveled well with them. And I reached their office, I was made to wait at the reception for some time. And finally, when I entered this meeting hall, it had about 10, 12 people, including the CEO. And the moment I entered, and he said something to the tunes of, gents, this is the young gentleman who's helped them with that report. And there was applause in the room. And that was, very, very gratifying for me to know that something which was very experimental from our side was received so well by the client. And that gave us the validation that this is the kind of solution which is required in the market. And since then, we've been actively doing a lot of work around this and some expanded formats of compensation benchmarking. So I'll actually call on my colleague Aparna to share her experience of doing something similar with another client.
Sure. No, thank you so much, Bhavishya. And certainly it's extremely gratifying to get these kind of responses from your clients. So I'd love to share one of the cases, and just adding to the introduction that you made to the compensation benchmarking service. So the distinctiveness or the unique proposition of our compensation benchmarking, and what our clients would also totally stand by, is in our primary and real-time approach. So the impact of the compensation benchmarking can be witnessed in business transformational insights, and they're able to kind of take actionable and strategic decisions. One of the cases that I'd like to cite, and where I was involved in the compensation benchmarking exercise, was for a pharma outsourcing company. This was a UK-based organization which was looking at strengthening and further expanding their presence in the India market, which also included increasing their employee size by almost 200%. Right. And it became extremely critical for them and imperative for them to understand the compensation benchmarks in the market, because initially they were still a small size, and right. They were probably not governed by industry benchmarks. And given the scale and the stage that they had grown into, of what they had envisioned to become, compensation benchmarking became a more strategic decision rather just a protocol that they needed to follow.
Right.
So we executed the compensation benchmarking exercise for them, and our approach was very different. We created what we say a very comprehensive and accurate target pool. So when I say target pool, we did not do a very broad-based industry target a comparator mapping. What we did was organizations which were specifically operating in the similar ecosystem as our clients, so broadly pharma outsourcing. Now that also we felt was still a very large analysis to make, in which we may not give us critical or detailed insights. So to do a more pragmatic analysis of compensation data, we further kind of created three clusters of the pharma outsourcing industry. So these were services, outsourcing, consulting organizations, and we created org structures for each of these clusters. You were also involved in that exercise, and we did a relative comparison of all the roles against each cluster. So what the organization or what our client was able to experience or witness from this service was an exact position profiling across all these clusters.
Absolutely.
What are organizations that could be easy poaching grounds for them? Where is it that attracting talent would be very difficult or challenging? And since the approach was primary, it was not only a quantifiable data of compensation benchmark. What we were able to gather and share as insights were beyond just compensation benchmarks.
Absolutely.
Right? It also involves certain softer aspects of what is keeping employees motivated, engaged across the comparator landscape, and some intricacies of what is happening in the pharma outsourcing industry at large. And I don't know if you remember, Bhavishya, there was another exercise that we recently conducted for a chemical organization. This was a German company. This would be interesting for our listeners and viewers to know. This was a German organization. This was a German headquartered company which was looking at acquiring majority stakes in an Indian promoter company. And most of the key functional roles, leadership roles, were held by the promoter's family, since this was a promoter driven company. And since it was a phase of their business expansion in India where they needed to hire progressive talent from outside, it again became very critical for them to conduct this exercise to understand what are the benchmarks of leadership talent in the chemical industry.
Right.
So I feel like all the times that we have partnered with our clients on this sort of an intervention has always resulted in something actionable, and most of the times the clients would partner with us only when they want to make some change.
Absolutely.
It is not just a stamp, or it is not just a
Absolutely.
formality.
Compliance,
Yes.
And I think it was very valuable for them, and I think not only were they able to leverage those insights toward bringing some distinctive changes in their compensation structures, but also their talent acquisition strategies, which I think were very imperative for their journey at that point in time. So I think, that was a very interesting exercise.
Right.